Good afternoon. Welcome to Midcap Radar live from the CNBC TV18 Motilal Oswal studio. I'm Sonal Bhutra. With me as always is Vivek Iyer. It's the monthly expiry day, so a lot of volatility which is being seen in the markets. For now, we have recovered around 85 points from the lows. Nifty is above the 26,000 mark. The midcaps as well. The advance decline ratio is in the favor of advances as we speak. But again, it remains to be seen the last 1 hour of trade because that will be action-packed.
That's right. Good afternoon, Sonal. And the good part today is, unlike yesterday, the screen is green. That is the good part. And especially, the mid-cap and small-cap end of the indices doing slightly better compared to the benchmark. But we have a lot lined up on the show. So let's start off with the top headlines. Stocks trade ranged ahead of F&O expiry on NSE. Realty and PSU banks gain, while IT and consumer durables track. Mid-caps fare slightly better.
Yatra Online, the stock is under pressure after its CEO Dhruv Shringi resigned citing personal reasons. Siddharth Gupta is appointed as the new Chief Executive Officer.
Siemens Energy under pressure despite reporting a good Q4 SY25. Margins in line with expectations while revenue surged 22% on a year-on-year basis. However, order backlog surged 47%.
Karnataka Bank surges after Aditya Kumar Halvasia buys 2% stake in the bank. He's the chairman and MD of Cupid Limited and a director in Tourism Finance Corporation of India. All right, those are the top headlines that we are tracking for you. The big talking point has to be the market moves, the ranged market moves ahead of expiry. For now, a massive recovery from the lows, 85 points from the lows. That is, we have come back below the 26,000 mark. So that's the kind of markets that we are dealing with. Mid caps, they're higher in trade, almost 100-point uptick, but it has also come off from the highs. Nifty Realty, that is doing well. We have the PSU banking index, which is higher in trade as well. What is not doing so well? IT pack, which was a big gainer yesterday, is seeing some profit booking today. We also have some losses coming in from the FMCG pack, so watch out for that one. These are some of the sectors on our radar. We do have some of these chemical names which are doing really well. Sudarshan Chemicals is higher. We have Tatwachintan Pharma. Something like Himadri Chemicals is also up. We have Anupam Rasayan also, which is up around 3.5%. So we'll talk about all those stocks and a lot more.
That's right. One particular name that stands out is SBI. That particular stock has moved to the high point of the day, taking along with it the PSU banking pack. On the other hand, a few RE lenders, renewable energy lenders like PFC and RSC are sulking near the day's lowest point. But these stocks and a whole host of other stocks is what Ria has on her radar. She's standing by the wall to take us through all of the mid-caps that are moving around in the session.
Well, yes, starting off with the gainers first, we have Restaurant Brands Asia up around 3%, giving up some of those gains that after we saw the 6% move in the early session this morning. Sources have said that Everstone Capital has reinitiated its efforts to exit stake in the company. For Nuvoco Vistas, this one is also up around 3% after the 8% move that we saw in the morning. 82 lakh shares traded on this one today versus the 1 week average of just about 2 lakh shares. For Orient Electric, this stock is up around 14% today, almost 2 crore shares have been traded today versus the 1 week average of just 13 lakh shares. For Dilip Biltcon, seeing a gain of around 6% today, continuing its move that it saw on Monday after receiving a rupees 500 crore order from NALCO. And HEG is the last one. This is up around 4%, 47 lakh shares traded today versus the 1 week average of just 8.5 lakh shares. Some other big gainers in trade today include Lumax up around 8%, Rolex, Rings, Aeroflex, as well as Craftsman Auto. On the losing side, we have All Cargo Logistics hitting a lower circuit of 5% today. VLS Finance also down roughly 3% after nearly the 18% rally that we have seen on the stock since Friday. For AWL Agri, this is also down nearly 3% today, recovering from the 5% dip that we saw in the morning. But this is still one of the biggest volume losers of the day. And the last one is Yatra, down around 7% after the CEO of the company tendered his resignation today.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. And we'll, of course, have a conversation and understand the reason for that resignation as well. Thank you, Ria, for joining us. Let's now welcome Shrikant Chauhan of Kotak Securities for a technical check on the markets. Shrikant, good afternoon. Interesting day today. What are the charts suggesting?
Good afternoon, Sonal. Good afternoon, Vivek. So yes, market is showing a lot of volatility. It is exhibiting a lot of volatility, and it has reached to its equilibrium level. It is not crossing the level of 26,200. It is not breaching below the levels of 25,800. So based on this, I am of the view that the market is going to spend some more time within this range in case if there is any correction on the back of the expiry and all. there we should look for taking some long bets. On the dismissal of 26,200, eventually we are expecting market to move towards the levels of 26,500. So broadly, we are of the view that the undertone of the market is bullish. Ideal strategy should be to buy if there is any correction in the market in the near term. And on the high side, till the market is not crossing 26,200, we need to be a little bit careful while adding long positions close to 26,200.
Okay, Shrikant. So that's your view as far as the index is concerned. But individual stocks, what is it that you're liking? Any buy calls for our viewers today?
So today, Vivek, we are witnessing a lot of buying activity and interesting buying in all pharma companies. Pharmaceutical stocks, they are doing really well. They are forming some higher top, higher bottom sort of series, especially Aurobindo Pharma, which has made double bottom close to 1050 sort of levels. And now it is reversing from those levels. Based on its overall formation, I am of the view that the stock is heading for at least 1450, 1500 in next few weeks. It will take some time, but it's a positional bet to buy at current levels with a target of 1450. And we can keep a stop loss around 1150 for the same. The other stock on which we are bullish is from the PSU basket, and that is Canara Bank. Here also, if we see the technical pattern of it, it is forming rising top, rising bottom since last almost 7 weeks. And it has crossed its all-time highest level close to 125 levels. So based on its overall formation, the stock is heading for at least 160, 165 in next few weeks. Here also we have a buy rating, and in case if there is any correction, then close to 140 or 138 levels, it's a buy.
All right. Thank you so much, Shrikant, for joining in. So those are some technical names to keep an eye out on. With that, we'll slip into a short break. Dhruv Shringi of Yatra Online will join us next to discuss the recent management changes and a lot more. Stay tuned for that.
Welcome back to Midcap Radar. Well, one particular stock that's been doing quite well is actually Karnataka Bank. Last week, there was an interesting acquisition of a large chunk of shares by a noted investor, post which that particular stock has seen a stellar up move. Gaurav joins in with more details.
Well, as Karnataka Bank is in focus, and the reason being that Mr. Aditya Halvasia, he bought around 2% stake in Karnataka Bank worth 160 crores in the last 2 days itself. And if you look at Mr. Aditya's profile, he is chairman and MD of Cupid Limited, and at the same time, he also serves as a director at Tourism Finance Corporation of India. So just to give you a glimpse of what has happened is that he invested around 13% stake in TFCI back in March 2024, and after that, if you look at the stock performance, it has gone up almost by 50%. So that is something to highlight. Now, coming to the Karnataka Bank's overall financials and the overall status, we have already seen some kind of rejig happening in the management of Karnataka Bank since July 2025. In fact, recently, Mr. Raghavendra has been appointed as CEO, who was earlier COO at the bank from 15th of November. If you look at the another aspect to it, now coming back to what it has to do with the TFCI, ex-MD of Karnataka Bank is also serving as an independent director at TFCI, Mr. Mahabaleshwara, who was with Karnataka Bank from April 2017 to April 2023, joined as independent director in TFCI in June 2024. Apart from that, if you look at the numbers from Karnataka Bank, it was not a stellar performance to say, because in fact profit that declined almost by 5%, while loan book declined almost by 2% in second quarter. But if you look at the management commentary, they seem a bit optimistic, because they are expecting ROAs to reach around 1.1 to 1.2% versus what it was at 1% in second quarter. And at the same time, as per fourth quarter commentary, management had also expected advances to reach around 90,000 crores by the end of FY26. Apart from that, even if you look at valuation, there also Karnataka Bank actually looks attractive, because it is currently trading at just 0.6 times price to book, versus if you look at the peers like South Indian Bank, Karur Vyasa, City Union, all of them actually trading one time or higher than one time price to book value. So definitely on the valuation front, it looks like an attractive deal for Karnataka Bank. And at the same time, given that there was a deal which was happening for the last 2 days, the bank has gone up almost by 15% in the last 3 days itself.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Gaurav, for joining in. A big move on Karnataka Bank and some interesting updates as far as stake is concerned. But let's talk about the big stock or the big story for today. Yatra Online shares, they're declining in trade after CEO Dhruv Shringi has resigned as the CEO, while Siddharth Gupta is appointed as the new CEO. Let's get in Dhruv Shringi joining us now to take a few questions to understand what really happened here. Dhruv, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining in. Well, you indicate that there are personal reasons for your resignation. We do get that, yes, personal reasons. But it is a very rushed resignation, and there is an immediate appointment as well. Could it have not been planned better? Because investors are quite taken aback. The stock is lower in trade.
I think there is maybe a bit of an adverse reaction to the stock than what we anticipated, but this is a fairly planned move. So I think the messaging saying that, I have resigned in a way is also misleading. Well, technically that is correct, but I'm also moving on to being the executive chairman of the company. The reason we made this move, and it's a very well thought through move, is because as a company, we are at our best in our history, right? From a profitability point of view, from a scale size point of view, the company is doing really well. The core business is performing very well. It's almost in an autopilot. So we thought it was the right time for us to get someone in who could take on running the day-to-day
Dhruv,
business.
we get that point, and in fact, Q2 was quite strong, and you had actually upgraded the guidance. What has taken the street by surprise is that most of the changes that you're talking about have happened with immediate effect. Generally, in a process like this, it's telegraphed well in advance. The analyst community is aware, in a conference call, or generally, the analysts are made aware. So, what prompted this sudden overnight decision to step away from the CEO role?
No, this is not an overnight decision. As you can imagine, someone of Siddharth's caliber who's coming into the company, this would be a well-planned, well-thought-through kind of discussion which would have happened over a period of time in shortlisting the candidate, having multiple rounds of discussions with him before we brought him on board. So this is a well-thought-through decision. And out here, the way we look at this is about putting in place the steps that we need to for the next phase of growth for the company. So while he's looking at one aspect of it, it'll free up a little bit of my bandwidth to start looking at other aspects of the company, from, let's say, inorganic growth opportunities to international expansion. We want to really see how do we double the company in size and scale over the course of the next 3 years. So keeping that in mind, this is more of a step to strengthen the management team as opposed to looking at this as a substitution.
So, Dhruv, what has happened here is that the reaction that you're talking about is because of the fact that this transition happened immediately. There was no lead period for transition from you to Siddhartha to take over as the CEO of the company. Yes, you're going to be the chairman, but CEO position is very important for any shareholder as well. And also the fact that it was not announced in the conference call that happened like as recent as 2 weeks back. And I think that's the reason why we are seeing that reaction as well. You did indicate that there will be certain roles that you will take up as the chairman of the board of directors as well. If you can talk more about it, and what skill does Siddhartha bring to the table? The investors would definitely like to know about that as well.
Sure. So he firstly, has over 25 years of experience on the B2B side of things. As you would have seen, our business over the last 2 years has pivoted more and more towards the B2B part of our business. He comes with experience in companies like SAP, companies in metal, where he's led large teams on the B2B front. And I think he will do really well in terms of scaling up our B2B business and providing some oversight and guidance to the B2C part of the business as well. In terms of my own role, right, I look at this, from a more strategic perspective. There are multiple other avenues of growth that we need to look at in addition to the core part of the business, be it looking at, international expansion, be it looking at M&A opportunities, be it looking at how we work more closely with the government on the tourism side of things, right? Tourism is one of the key initiatives that the government is working on. And there are multiple opportunities being created within that for us to expand. So I think there are a number of areas where we will collaborate and work together on to be able to multiply the organization's growth potential.
So, Dhruv, in that case, the question still remains. You want to take up other roles. Why not give some breathing time for that transition to come by? Why make it so sudden?
Again, I'm very much in the company. It's not that, I'm moving out of the company tomorrow morning. So there is a sudden transition. I'm very much around to make sure that from a transition point of view, all of this happens seamlessly. So that's the part that I'm maybe a bit, surprised by the reaction. Had it been a case that I was moving out and suddenly someone new was coming in, I would have understood the reaction. But given the fact that I'm as an executive chair, it's not even that I'm a non-executive chair, I'm an executive chair in the company. It's only supplementing the strength of the management team.
Right. Dhruv, we get that point, and the clarification that you're giving now, and the assurances that you're giving now is something that the street is clearly taking a note of. Dhruv, you mentioned a couple of points. Number one, you said that you will be looking at policy and you will be, number one, talking to the government about how to improve the tourism part. We get that point. The second point is, and you mentioned that a couple of times, you said that you are looking to expand both international operations as well as looking at prospective M&A opportunities. Do you have any acquisition targets on the horizon? What will be the likely size and what vertical will you be looking at?
So, if you look at our track record, right, once every few years, we have done an M&A on the enterprise side, on the corporate travel side only. Our focus remains squarely on that part of the business. The last one we had done was in September of 2024, and that acquisition is now fully integrated. So we will continue to evaluate opportunities on the same lines. There is no specified target as of this point of time, but it's more about creating the bandwidth to be able to look at those more closely. The other aspect which is there is looking at international expansion. What we've seen, at least in the Asian region, as we are targeting some of the larger customers, they have a footprint beyond India as well. So our steps, our thought process over there is to look at how do we put our own foothold into these other neighboring markets, be it markets like the Middle East, markets like Southeast Asia, where there is good growth potential and synergy between our existing business, existing customers, and their growth in the region.
Okay. So, Dhruv, you say you're surprised by the reaction. The fact is, even the investors are surprised by this quick transition, right? And that's why you're seeing that that fall. The stock is recovering right now, but have you had a word with the institutions that own your stock? What have their reaction been to this? Or were they surprised too as well by this shift that is happening in the CEO's position? And secondly, what is your stake, personal stake in the company? What happens to that? Does it stay? Do you buy more? If you can give those specific numbers as well.
Sure. So firstly, from a reaction point of view, I think the larger institutions have obviously understood, and we've spent some time explaining to them the rationale as well. And that's part of the reason why you're beginning to see some recovery happening. So it's not a sellout which is happening. I am also expecting that through mediums like yours, as we get the word out there and this clarification filters in, we will see improvement continue to happen in the stock. Because at the end of the day, the underlying business is performing well. This is a move which will only add more synergy, add more growth opportunities to the business. So I see this as a net positive. We are not looking at selling any stock. So from a personal standpoint, there is no sale, transition, anything of that nature being thought through, even remotely.
And what is your stake in the company in personal capacity?
Sorry?
What is your stake in the company in personal capacity? You'll continue to hold that?
Yeah, so I will continue to hold my entire stake. My stake comes in through the overseas holding entity, and that will continue to remain as is. There won't be any change of that.
Dhruv, and a quick guidance check. You raised the guidance to 22 to 23% on the top line, and you raised margin guidance as well. All of that on track?
So there's nothing that's transpired in the last, let's say, 2-3 weeks, which would make me think differently.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dhruv, for joining us. And there's been a very sharp recovery in the stock price, as you've gone ahead and given an assurance to the investors that you will continue to remain a part of the company and steer it forward. Well, we'll now slip into a short break. We'll get you more on the markets and stock-specific action on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Midcap Radar. Well, we just concluded the conversation, the very interesting conversation we had with the management of Yatra Online. Post the management commentary and the assuaging of concerns, that stock has seen a very sharp intraday recovery, almost a 4.5% recovery. But with that, it's all the time we have on this edition of Midcap Radar. MF Corner when we return.